Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. How are you all doing? So, yeah, today we're going to be working on some new stuff. I've got a new card that I want to add abilities for, and then I've also got just a bunch of like random bugs to do. So basically, the to-do list is all the stuff that I need to do to get to a stage where I could do another playtest. So that is basically what we're going to be doing, but I do want to finish this card here, which I will show you in just a second. But let me remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting. The Steam page has been gradually being updated. All of the screenshots are new, so if you want to check those out, you can. I think that these screenshots are a lot more compelling than the old screenshots for sure. So yeah, the trailer is the next thing that's going to be replaced, and that should be happening relatively soon. And then the Steam page will be all up to date. Well, kind of all up to date. Not really. It's going to continue to need to be tweaked because I keep changing things. But anyway, that's all right. But yeah, check it out if you're interested. It's a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler where you can use alchemy to create your own builds. You can also subscribe on Patreon. I'm entirely self-funded, so all of these Patreon subscriptions help a lot. I have been putting up more Patreon exclusive content recently, and I'll probably continue, or I will continue to do so as well. But also, a couple of nice perks you get for subscribing at the top tier here for at least 1 month. I will send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches, and your name will be listed in the in-game Alchemortis credits. So definitely check that out if that sounds interesting to you. And I also have my Udemy courses linked below. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. Alrighty. The first thing that we're going to do today, and before I say hello to everyone, is we need to add abilities to Leviathan. I don't know if this art is good or not, but let me show you what it looks like, and then you can tell me. All right, here we go. Boom. Leviathan. So I may do some more work on it, try to make him, I don't know, make him look a little bit more fearsome. But I think it's cool. So Leviathan is the second 3x3 card in the game, obviously. And I just need some abilities for him. So that's it. Hello, the malicious rabbit. Goodness, I can't talk today. Welcome, good to see you again. Hello, Mel's, good to see you. Tan talking, welcome back. Walter Kenback, or Ken. Oh, is that a kerning issue? Oh wait, no. No, I said it right. For some reason, the font... I don't know what's up with this window. It looks like an L and a C that have really bad kerning, but Oh, I think I'm just going nuts. Hello, Fortune Sort. Welcome. Good to see you. All right, so before we get into that, before we get into doing the Leviathan abilities, what did I do yesterday? So yesterday off stream, I did a bunch of stuff. I reintroduced a way to get the eyeball. I made the eyeball a reward for defeating the elite encounters, which is probably not going to stay. I just wanted to give something as a reward for the elite encounters. The elite encounters cannot be generated in the game until you hit the first difficulty level, which I still have to figure out what I'm going to call those and everything. But I also updated some descriptions, fixed some issues around the new booster stuff, did a bunch of work with translations. So yeah, and then last night, you know, it was late. I was like, well, I'm going to see if I can draw this Leviathan, and I will, I think it turned out pretty good. So now we need to add the abilities for it, which I actually don't have any ideas for. So this has a relatively quick attack speed. I might change that. I've been developing a tower defense game in Godot for 2 years. Very nice. Very nice. What is your tower defense game about? Okay. So this is a minion. Do I have many minion ritual items? Minion ritual. Yeah, we'll tag him as ritual, I suppose. Skeleton dragon. What is this guy's crit chance? 20%. Make that crit chance 0.15. You have to protect the last Bitcoin mining farm from the aliens. That's hilarious. That's funny. All right, so Leviathan. What abilities are we going to give this guy? Also, just for the sake of testing, I'm going to remove this draft of coagulation because it's annoying. Okay. Hello, Wooius. Welcome, welcome. All right, so let's see. I'm a little bit discombobulated. Here we go, Leviathan. So we need to give Leviathan some really cool abilities, obviously, because he's a 3x3 item, 3x3 card. So let me look at my ability list here. I wonder, it might be kind of interesting. It might be kind of interesting to make Leviathan do some scaling off of corrupted items. Good morning, Ninja Link. Let's do that. Let's make it do some damage based off of... Oh, this is going to be pretty cool, I think. All right, let's do this. So for context for Wooius and Ninja Link, I'm adding abilities to Leviathan. So here's Leviathan. And it's the second 3x3 item in the game. So that means it's going to need to be relatively powerful. Are you releasing your game on mobile devices as well? I have not decided that yet. The main focus is like, let's just see how it does on the desktop platforms first. Good morning, Chris. Sorry, I got an important message. Always getting important messages during the stream. That's all right. We will ignore it for now because the stream is more important. So I was thinking for Leviathan here, we can make it do some damage based off of the number of adjacent corrupted abilities or something. Maybe not adjacent. Maybe we can make it a little bit more interesting. Maybe we'll just make it board wide. So let's do damage per adjacent corrupted ability. And actually, I kind of want to rename this while I'm thinking of it. Is negative ability is corrupted ability. I don't even know why the heck I'm doing this, but that's all right. Okay. This is a little bit of a tangent. Card ability, provenance, model, provenance, source. We're going to rename this one to corrupted. Although, actually, provenance source. Let me look at this for a second. This is the save file here. So I think what I'm going to do for the Patreon videos, I think the next video I'm going to do for Patreon members only is an overview of the translation system. And then another video that I'll do after that will probably be an overview of how the save system works. So if you want to get some insights into how I'm doing those things, you can subscribe at Patreon. And then I will, like, you know, at some point later down the line, I'll probably do more comprehensive overview for the YouTube channel. But just, you know, I'm finding it pretty easy to just go in and talk for 20 minutes and show my source code, and that's helpful enough. But it doesn't have to have the same level of polish as a YouTube video. Okay, so these are just numbers. Cool. So I can rename that safely. It doesn't matter. Maybe I should... I'm going way off on a tangent now, but I want to force the values of these things. Because what that does is that basically tells me in the code that, hey, these values are important, that I can't reorder these things. That legendary also always needs to retain a value of 2. So I think that's fine. I'm not going to worry about any of this. Actually, I think we're good. Alchemy negative abilities. Maybe I'll rename this as well. Rename this. Update the translations. Okay, actually I don't need that project file. We'll build this, build the translations, and then we'll get going. Do you think Godot overcharges? Huh? Do you think Godot overcharges for mobile ports? Godot does not do... I don't understand the question. You don't have to pay anything to export to mobile from Godot. The only thing that you have to pay for when you're porting a Godot game is consoles, but that's because Godot is open source and the console SDKs are under NDA. Like, you have to sign certain agreements before you get access to the SDKs. And Godot, being an open source project, obviously can't abide by those licenses, right? So you do need to work with a third party and pay a third party to port your game to console, but mobile is free. So I don't know where the question is coming from. But welcome to the stream, marauding mudlarker. I hope that's not an offensive term. Looks really cool. Reminds me of a deck topper card from traditional trading card games. Yeah, my hope is that all the 3x3 cards just feel like really strong and really powerful. But I don't, you know, there's still a tension, right? I don't want to make them so strong and so powerful that they're just like a no-brainer choice in every situation, right? Like, they should be strong and they should be powerful, but they should still have a strong enough identity to where, like, maybe you get them and it's like, well, that's not really going to work with the build that I'm working on, or it's not going to be the optimal choice, right? Where in other cases it's like, oh my gosh, this is perfect for what I've got going on, you know? Hello, El Dorado. How's everything going? It's going well. I'm just going to rebuild some translations here because people speak multiple languages. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna go over the translation system in a Patreon video. So I hope you like that. All right, so this Leviathan, the first Leviathan ability that I want to do is I want to do a certain amount of damage based on the total number of corrupted abilities that are adjacent, or that are on the board, generally speaking. So how am I going to do that? I need an ability list provider. Oh, wait a minute. Ability list provider. Ability list provider. So this just gets me the ability. Oh, this is all flattened abilities. Interesting. So that's not even going to work. So basically what I need is I mean, I could just use a generic value provider. I'm been trying to like not use that as much as possible, but so I think what I would do is I would do a query target provider here. And then I would do query target provider dot create, and then options, and then options here. This would be options dot query directions dot, or is equal to board inventory component query directions dot entire board, and then options dot custom filter is equal to card.has has ability of type, has corrupted ability. Is this even used? What is this? Okay. I suppose that's fine. Where is this used elsewhere? Oh, I see. Well, we'll just do that. So custom filter card has corrupted ability. Okay, so then we can do something like this. We do the generic value provider, generic value provider, and then we do an int here, anonymous function there. So var cards is equal to query target provider dot get cached targets. And then we do return cards dot sum x dot get base composed abilities dot where y dot is corrupted ability. I guess we do need a count there. Oh, this could just be dot count. Okay, so this is just dot count. Okay. So this is total corrupted abilities. So basically what this is going to do is this is going to query the source board for all of the cards which have at least one corrupted ability, and then it's going to sum the total amounts of corrupted abilities on each item, and then we can do damage based on that. So let's do const int base damage per corrupted ability. We're gonna make this, I don't know, this might be too strong, but we have to consider too that this is going to be strong, but the corrupted abilities are also like negative abilities, right? So you're going to have to contend with accruing all of those negatives, but hopefully the damage will be enough to offset that. So var current damage is equal to base damage per corrupted ability. So I don't really like using this generic value provider everywhere, because ideally if I'm reusing certain types of functionality, I could just put that in an explicit named class, but I don't know if I'm going to be doing something exactly like this anymore. So like making this like sort of reusable would entail, yeah, it would entail just doing some weird things. So I think the generic value provider is fine here. Okay, so we've got the generic value provider. We've got the current damage. So now we need var dynamic damage. Actually, let's do the value scaler first. Value scaler is equal to new value scaler. And the source provider is the total corrupted abilities. Value scaler dot set multiplier to base damage per, or not base damage, current damage. Okay, then we have var dynamic damage is equal to new dynamic magnitude ability. We pass in the value scaler, and then we pass in the target ability, which is new damage 0. Okay, and then for our abilities, we need to do the query target provider and the dynamic damage. Okay, so this is damage per corrupted ability. Scaling func var scalar is equal to ability scalars dot get damage scalar. Current damage is equal to scalar base damage tier. And then value scalar dot set multiplier current damage. Okay. Let's do options. I'm gonna need to rename this a little bit, actually. Or I'm gonna need to just write this myself, I think. This description template. So this would be deal 0 description keywords dot damage. Let me just do this really quick. Let me just do that. I will figure that out in a second. Current damage. Card Leviathan damage per corrupted ability. And then we're going to want to make this innate as well. Okay, let's build this. Not to derail too much, but do you have a video or resources on how you do the grid shuffling things around when you drag items? You just try to move the occupied item in all directions or similar? Yeah, it's somewhat like that. Basically, the way that it works is when it detects an overlap while you're dragging, which is a whole set of technical problems. Basically, I do like a shadow operation is what I call it, which is where like I try to place the dragon card. I simulate placing the dragon card at the position that you're hovering, and then, but that only returns data about like overlaps or if it can't be placed there. And then if it can't be placed there, it detects all of the cards that it collided with. And then what it does is it tries to move all of those cards to the next available position. And so yeah, that's basically how it works. And then there's a loop in there that kind of like handles multiple levels of trying to move things. But I haven't worked on that code in a while, so I don't remember exactly how it works, but that's basically the idea. Whenever I log in late, I feel like I'm late to class. Sorry, prof. Welcome, Straight Pointer. Also, Lucky Lactose, welcome to you. Did you do the art already for the Leviathan? I did. Yeah, we're gonna go see it right now. Hello, Death Streaks, welcome. So here's the Leviathan. Okay, so let's see. So I'm gonna need to rewrite this. For each description keywords dot corrupted, deal 0 damage for each corrupted ability on allied items. Additional ability explanations is equal to ability explanations dot corrupted. We'll just put that there. Okay, I think that's good. Understood, roughly what I was thinking. We'll probably need something like that for future projects, so Brain already semi-working on it. Yeah, gotcha. It's not, you know, it's not too terribly complicated. The most important thing is like, actually the hardest part of that system was making sure to take a snapshot of the original board state, because that's mostly an implementation detail of my system, because when I actually try to move the items around on the board, they actually change the board state. And the problem is, like, if the drag operation fails, or if the player decides that they don't want to drop that item anymore, so they move it back to where it came from, I need to still know what the original state of all the cards was, so that they can be reset to that state. Because you don't want the automatic shuffling to be permanent until the player actually drops the card onto the board, right? So the trickiest part was just making sure to like take a snapshot of the board state before all of those shifting operations happened, and then to either lock that state in on placement or restore that state in the event that the drag operation fails for whatever reason. Hello, Clickertail, welcome. I really like the look, thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right, let's see how this works now. Deal 5 damage for each corrupted ability on allied items. Ooh. I think I can add an icon to the corrupted ability as well. Let me see. This is a 9x9. Yes. Okay, here we go. Copy UID. Description utils. Corrupted here. Oops. What am I doing? Okay, down here. I reworked this whole description keyword system as well to make it play nicer with my translation system. It's kind of fun. We'll need same commit discard for my dragging, so that's luckily already planned. Awesome. There we go. We got a little icon now for the corrupted ability. Okay. Alrighty. So we'll say, well, I should probably test this too. We'll just test each ability as I make it. And my board is not big enough. I need to add like a cheap command to increase the board size, but we'll just do this for now. Now the trick is, can I generate some corrupted abilities here? Man-eating wasp. I like that card. That's kind of freaky, actually. Apologies to anyone who is afraid of wasps. So here's a corrupted ability. Oh no! Wait, now the icon appears in both places. Do I want to figure that out now? All right, well, let's just see if this works to begin with. Okay, so that's highlighting the candle. So it should deal 5 damage for each corrupted item. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so that query highlighting is working. Let's see what happens here. Oh, it crit twice. Okay, that seems to be working. Now the question is, can I get another corrupted ability on this, and will that work? The wasp reminds me of Cazadora and Fallout New Vegas in a scary way, so good job, thank you. There we go, 2 corrupted abilities, okay. So this should be doing 15 damage now. Hit the Basilisk Eye. Hello, excuse me. Hello, Drufus Games, goodness. All right, so let's see if this works. Leviathan should deal 22 damage. How in the world did Leviathan do 22 damage? Oh, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, it's a 1.5x multiplier. it did 15 damage. So half of 15 is 7.5, but it gets rounded down because it's all integers. So then it dealt 22. Okay, awesome. Cool. All right. I will have to figure out... What I could do is I could, if I wanted to control whether a keyword gets an icon or not, what I could do is I could do something like, I could say, let's say that I have the typical keyword, which looks like this. I could add another like piece of this. I could do like, exclamation mark or something at the end to indicate, or at the beginning to indicate that I don't want an icon, and then I could just find that with the regex and exclude the icon if that's present. So I'm not going to do that right now, but that is something I could do. So let me write that down, probably just in the backlog. And then we'll do need to support ability to specify inside of tag or the keyword string to exclude icon. It's not that important, so it's just going to go in the backlog for now. Okay. Now we need more abilities for Leviathan here. Rip voice, yeah. Hello, Emerson, welcome. Good to see you. Based on your expertise, how would you go about getting exact decimals for an output like in the calculator app? Exact, I mean, I guess it depends on what you're trying to do. Like, are you saying you want exact decimals without like floating point imprecision? Or are you saying you just want to show X number of decimal places after the number? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to deal... Yeah, I mean, if you just want to show number of decimal places, that's just a matter of using a format string and determining how many decimal places you want to show. I think Godot supports that naturally, but so do basically, so does every programming language basically. But yeah, I guess I don't really understand the question, because floats are floats. Like you can turn a float into a string to a certain number of decimal places however you want. But if you're asking like how do you get precise calculations without floating point imprecision, I think it's called fixed point calculations. But that's about the extent of my knowledge. I'm saying that you want to achieve all the numbers like in a calculator, but with a decimal. In C# you don't get all the values. Yeah, I guess I guess I don't understand the problem. Sorry. If in Godot you snapped 0.1, yeah. Apply paralysis for 1.5 seconds to a random enemy item for each corrupted ability on this item. 1% chance per corrupted ability on this item to exhaust the targeted item instead. That's a good one. The problem is, because it's so large, I think that the chance of getting a corrupted ability on it is really low. So if I turn my difficulty tier down here to 0. If I put this in, see there's no penalty here. Like there's actually no way to get a corrupted ability on this Leviathan unless if you're on the higher difficulties, maybe it's possible. No, even then it's not possible. Like, even if I do it with the smallest item, it's not possible. So it's basically not possible to get corrupted abilities on the large cards, which may be a problem. But yeah, if I were to make such an ability, that would basically not be useful. Thought it was item-based instead of cell-based. Yeah, I mean, I could make it item-based. I mean, how do we feel about that? Like, I could make it item-based. How long does it take your board query to run when the state changes? Is there a target time you're looking for? It's basically instantaneous. It's like fractions of a millisecond, like a very small fraction of a millisecond. So like, yeah, it's not something that I've specifically profiled, but it's like, it's basically instantaneous. Like it's not heavy at all. I love your Leviathan art. How did you make it? Through lots of trial and error. I spent a couple hours on it last night, actually. I may have some of the old layers in here still. Yeah, so like, this was an early attempt at just getting a shape down, and then I had the weird head here that was kind of weird, but then I ultimately got it to a spot where I have more of like a reptilian head on it now. So it was just a lot of trial and error. I mean, you can kind of see the different layers that I created as I was like progressing. You can see that this second layer here, the back portion, or like the body, how it snakes around, and the flipper here is largely the same as the final version with some tweaks. If you cast int, you lose precision. Yes. Yeah, I just don't understand the question. Like, yeah, if you want to do precise enough calculations, just keep everything as floats, and then you can choose how to display how many decimal places you want in the output. Yeah. Hello, Krasner. Just watched your podcast with Scope Creepers, and it's so refreshing to hear people that are happy to be doing what they want. Appreciate the perspective lots. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Krasner. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. It's taking me up to like 3,000 milliseconds to run the query when I have a full board. Oh. Yeah, without looking at your implementation, I wouldn't know exactly what's going on there, but yeah, it doesn't take that. I mean, I can have a full board with all kinds of items that need to have their abilities re-executed so that reevaluates their stats and everything. And they can all have like 3 abilities that all need to query, and like it still happens in fractions of a millisecond. So yeah, there's I would say there's probably something very wrong going on there. Unless you're, it could be the case that your grid is just humongous, right? Like my grids are relatively small. So even if I did the worst possible thing where I was iterating over every single cell and doing like several operations for that cell, we're still only talking about like, this is a 5x5 board. So that's 25 cells. If each cell does 4 operations, you know, that's only 100 operations, right? So like, yeah, it depends on like what your implementation is, but. So you got the wasp finish. I did. Do you like it? And that's without doing a lot of effects just because the tiles don't have effects yet. Apologize for the confusion. If it helps, think of trying to design a calculator in your program, but your output doesn't display every single digit. How would you solve that issue? Well, there is a natural limit to the number of digits that can be represented by a computer. But if you're saying, hey, I want 8 decimal places, but it's only showing 3, or it's only showing 2, or it's only showing 1, like I said, that's a function of like translating the number to a string, right? Because under the hood, the float value is going to have a certain amount of precision, but when it gets printed as a string, you know, the default settings may like truncate that to some extent. But you can control that, like in most languages, in all languages probably, you can say when you convert a float to a string, how many decimal places do you want to show? So I would look for how you would do that. I think my time check is bad. I'll mess around with it. It says it's running in 3000 milliseconds, but it prints that instantly. Oh yeah, maybe it could be that it's taking 3 milliseconds and you just did the math wrong. So that doesn't make sense. Yeah, you would see a hang of 3 seconds. I would be shocked if that wasn't a real number. 1% chance per corrupted ability executed since last execution to exhaust a random enemy minion item. That's a good one. That's a good one. Let's do that one. Hello, Grumble of Pugs. Thank you for the raid. Wow, appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Looks good. Thank you, Drufus. Hello, all you raiders. You are now in the Firebelly Games raid, and I promise you I don't have any good loot, so go easy on me. Thank you, Grumble of Pugs. Thanks for your answers. You're welcome. MSEC versus USEC, maybe? Yeah, that might be it. So for all the people who just got here via the raid, just for context, I'm working on my game Alchemortis, which is a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler where you can use alchemy to create your own builds and synergies. So the Steam page is linked below. I won't take up too much of your time with the ad, but right now I'm working on adding new abilities to this Leviathan card that I created. And you know, if you've played auto battlers, the abilities are basically just the things that happen when the card executes. So yeah, we're going to be adding a new ability. I already added one, so we're going to add another one, which is the one that Ninja Link suggested, which is to exhaust, to have a small chance to exhaust an enemy item per corrupted ability executed. So let's do this. Chance to exhaust per corrupted ability executed. So this one is going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to have to go into the turn history. Get self-damage dealt since ability execution. Let's see. Damage dealt entry. Get distinct cards that dealt damage. I don't want damage dealt entry. I want card abilities executed entry. Oh. Get total ability executions of type. I'm going to need to add a new method in here for getting these history entries, because I currently don't have a way of looking at the history and counting only the abilities that were corrupted. So I need to do that. Seems really cool. Have a good rest of your stream. Thank you. Appreciate that. So I'm just going to give this a shot right now. I have no idea if this is going to work, but let's do get ability executions by filter. We're going to do int since sequence number. Actually, let's pass in the filter here. This is a mess. Since sequence number. By board by card. Entries to consider. Entries to consider dot count. Ability filter and by board. Okay, so this is largely the same. Okay. So then what I can do, I need to be able to get the sequence number though. Get last ability execution sequence number. You know what I might do is I might make this private. Let's move this down here somewhere. Public int get ability executions by filter. Okay. Copy this. We're going to get rid of this last sequence number or since sequence number there. And then we want the last sequence number. Get last ability execution sequence number down here. Oh, I need the since ability. Did I not put that in here? Oh yeah, I need the interesting. Anyway. Get ability executions by filter. Last sequence number by board by card. Okay. Goodness gracious. So hopefully this works. I actually don't know what ability now. Let's see. Ability list provider, damage taken, random chance provider. That's not right. Self-damage dealt provider. This is base card ability, I ability value provider. I mean, I could just make this a generic ability. I could say generic ability is equal to new generic ability. I can get the context in here. Although that's not exactly going to work, I don't think. Because this is not going to refer to the generic ability. So I probably should create... a specific ability for this. So what did I call this? Get ability executions by filter. All right, let's just call it this. Let's just do, where's my scripts, data, ability, new file, ability executions by filter provider. Okay. Namespace, game.data.ability, public class, ability executions by filter provider. We're going to want to pass in the filter here, so maybe I'll just do func base card ability. Oh wait, did I do this right? Yeah, I did. Okay. So ability filter there. Total executions. Okay. Okay. Get ability executions by filter since ability. I'm going to reverse these actually. Oops. So now I can do this, which should be a type of that. Yeah. Ability execution by filter provider. Then we pass in the ability filter there. Total executions. Right. Okay. I think that's good. I think that's fine. So ability executions by filter provider. Let's call this corrupted ability executions. Shoot, I just realized that this is going to be a problem. Oh, maybe not, actually. Maybe it's fine. So this would be ability is base composed ability, and composed ability dot is corrupted ability. Goodness gracious. Okay. I changed how the time was being handled. Now it's saying that it's taking less than 1 millisecond. There you go. Yeah. How long have you been working on your game? I've been working on the game since March of 2025. So a year and a couple months. And it's going to be done by the end of the year. So less than 2 years. Oh man. It just takes a lot of time. Hello, Fira. Good luck on the grind today. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, so I'm really curious to see if this is going to work. So let me do this. Return this thing here. Chance to exhaust per corrupted ability. Let's just call this chance to exhaust. All right. Pass in the source board here. So this is only going to get corrupted ability executions for the source board. I'm just going to gd.print total executions here so I can test it. Before we start building up a lot of stuff, I just want to see if it works. We'll get rid of this description for now. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. All right. Let's see if that works. So I need to get a couple of corrupted abilities. I think I will change the alchemy to using a number of cards instead of the amount of cells occupied. But anyway, that's a separate thing. So let's get some corrupted abilities here. There's one corrupted ability. There's another corrupted ability. So we've got 2 corrupted abilities. So now let's go grab a combat encounter. I should really put the training dummy on here, but that's all right. Oh, I forgot to add the... Oh, shoot. I forgot to add this. Well, this gives me an opportunity to turn on the training dummies. All right. Now we got to do it all again. I'm really getting annoyed by the fact that there's no quick move to the alchemy board, so maybe we'll do that depending on how much time I have after we're done with the Leviathan. All right, so we've got those in place. Put the Leviathan there. All right, I'll just keep it on normal speed here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we should see the number 4 printed. Okay, let's take a look. Output 2. Oh, that's a passive. Oh, that's a passive. I was about to like be so disappointed, but this is a corrupted passive ability, so it's not executing during combat. This one is not passive, so the candle did only execute twice. So the 2 is correct. So let's just keep counting real quick. So there's 1 execution there. There's another execution there. Is it going to get a 3rd one off? No. So we should see the number 2 again. Yeah, 2. Okay. I think it's working. I think it's working, so we can get rid of this. Okay, alrighty. So now that that is out of the way, now we need to give it a chance to exhaust an enemy item. 1% chance per corrupted ability executed since the last execution to exhaust a random enemy item. How's the stream going? Also, where can one play the playtest build? Stream is going well. Welcome to the stream again, Emperor Penguin. If you follow the Discord, or you could subscribe to my email list, or what else? My X, formerly known as Twitter account, whatever. You'll know when the playtest is live. It's not live all the time, but I am working towards doing another playtest relatively soon. So if you just keep an eye on like all of the relevant social media channels, you'll be notified when that goes live. By the way, I asked about project setting stuff maybe a month ago. Really liked that and boosted by adding a custom doc to allow changing high frequency stuff easily. I have a list of dev saves that populates from a file system showing in a grid. Selecting equals sets the project setting. Yeah, that is a really good improvement. I want to do something similar. I just haven't gotten around to it. I would love to have like a little drop down, maybe an extra little button here where I can have like a whole list of checkboxes that I can change without having to go to the project settings every time. So that's definitely a great improvement. I want to do something very similar to that, but just haven't spent the time to do it, you know? Okay, I'm gonna actually commit this. Work on. Okay. I'm almost wondering, 1 second, ability filter. Yeah, okay. So the problem was all of my ability. Yeah, I need to go in and streamline this. So you'll notice that all of the damage queries are very like streamlined now. So I have a named method like get self damage since ability execution, but I really only have like query damage and query damage since, and I'm just changing the arguments passed into it based on like what the named method is and what the arguments are there. But the ability is like I have just all these random ability query things that are not super helpful. I think one thing that I'm noticing is like I have this get total ability executions of type that accepts an ability type here, but there's no reason why I couldn't create a more generalized like ability filter method and then do the same thing here where I just like I have a named method that accepts the type. That type is used in the ability filter that's passed along. Because I have a lot of code duplication in here, so I think that this could just be streamlined. Again, it's one of those things where it's like it's working, so there's no reason to go in and spend a bunch of time fixing it, but I think I should move more towards something like this, where it's like get ability executions by filter, and then the filter can be constructed from the named methods with their particular arguments. But ultimately, everything would just go through something like this. And even this stuff can all be collapsed into the ability filter. So anyway, I would like to do that at some point, but anyway, I just have bottom dock next to where you have shader editor. Yeah, that's a good place for it. Also, different list for preview platform, which sets viewport size and some other things. Send me roughly 1 million years of dev time. Well, there you go. 1:15 a.m. Here's Softbet. All right, have a good night, Drufus, and thanks for joining. Simon William Taylor, welcome back. Good afternoon to you. All right, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break. I need to get a refill of my coffee. And when I come back, we'll finish up, hopefully, all of the Leviathan's abilities. And then I really do want to add a quick move hotkey for moving items to the alchemy board. So we'll see if we can get that done too. So I'll be right back in just 3 minutes and we'll continue on. All right, I'm back. Thank you for sticking around. Okay. So now we need a buff applicator, which in this case is going to be a debuff, but we don't need to worry about that. Buff applicator, exhausted debuff. I forgot how this works. Oh, it needs a query target provider, right? So let's do var query target provider is equal to query target provider dot create options options dot query directions is equal to board inventory component query directions dot entire board options dot query source board is equal to false. Options dot query target board is equal to true. Then we want to do what? Options dot custom filter is equal to card dot card buff or dot can, let's see, buff container dot can receive exhaustion. So we only want to select items that can receive exhaustion. Then we're going to do options.limit is equal to 1, and then options.order by random is equal to true. Okay. So then we can pass in that query target provider there. And we're also going to have the initial base magnitude. It doesn't matter. This also doesn't matter. Duration. I don't think the duration matters, but we might as well just be formal with it. Buff applicator. Okay, so I need to put the query target provider here as well as the buff. No, not the buff applicator. So now we're going to need to do, we need a random chance provider. New random chance provider. Oh, that's just giving me the chance. Okay. That's an ability. All right. So let's do this. Random chance provider. So this is just going to return, it literally just returns a random number between 0 and 1. So generic chance checker, generic, well, let's just do generic value provider. We're going to do float. Okay. We're going to return corrupted ability executions dot get value divided by 100. Okay, and then we need the new, let's put those all up there. Okay. var conditional ability decorator. Well, let's just do conditional exhaust is equal to new conditional ability decorator. We're going to decorate the buff applicator, and then the condition is random chance provider dot get value is less than or equal to generic value provider dot get value. Okay, so then we need to actually run the random chance provider, and then we can run the conditional exhaust. Okay, so then the description will be something like, for each description keywords dot corrupted, for each allied corrupted ability executed since this ability's last execution, gain let's do this. 0 chance to apply query target provider. Oh gosh, 2 query string template 1. Okay. For each allied corrupted ability executed since this ability's last execution, gain 0, so this will be replaced, 1% chance. 1% chance to apply exhausted to that, and then this would be constant base chance. We're gonna make this scale. Current chance is equal base chance, so this would be get value times current chance. Goodness gracious, this is kind of a little bit of an involved ability. Hello, Mel Peslier. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. So scalar is equal to ability scalars dot make additive scalar 1. Current chance is equal to scalar base chance tier. I guess this is saying I don't need parentheses. That's fine. Okay, so then in here, this would be current chance. And then we want to do query target provider dot query options dot limit, otherwise 0. Because limit is a nullable int, so I just want to be sure that it's safe. And then there was another component of this ability. This item permanently gains. I might make that a separate ability. The permanent crit multiplier increase. So that way you could pull that off of the Leviathan if you wanted to. All right, let's build. Hello, Xcior. Welcome. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Firebelly Sensei. Goodness gracious. All right, for each allied corrupted ability executed since this ability's last execution, gain 0% chance to apply exhaust to 1 random enemy item. Oh, I need to do the plural form. No, I don't. Yes, I do. Shoot. So let's do force card plural here. This is the only part of like my translation system which I'm not totally in love with, but let's just duplicate this line. Description template singular, force card singular. Okay, and then we do description template plural count func is equal to that. So it's not actually the case that I'm changing the limit of things exhausted, but the way I'm thinking about it is like it's good to have those forms ahead of time in case I ever do tweak this ability, because the idea is like I want to have as much freedom as possible to tweak how the abilities work without necessarily needing to have the ability retranslated. Of course, that's going to have to be done in certain cases, but to the extent that I can just change numbers without requiring new translations, that's like the ideal state that I want to be in. I was trying to think of something that would happen if the Leviathan ate the enemy. Yeah, that's a good one. I like this ability a lot. Okay, all right, so that's properly in the translation. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make this super obvious. We're just gonna do a 50% base chance, and then we're gonna see if it works, and then I'll knock the chance back down. All right, so let's see, we got the Leviathan. Let's create some corrupted abilities. Let's see if this is correct. For each allied corrupted ability executed, since this ability's last execution, gain 50% chance to apply exhausted. That's probably not correct, actually. This needs to be just plain old exhaust. So before I get too deep into it, let me just get the translation working properly. Okay, build the translation file. Okay. Hello, Tiro for real. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. It's going well. How are you doing? Do you think it's fine to mostly use AI to code when building a deck building game like Slay the Spire? The problem with using AI to mostly build it is that if you don't know how your systems are working, because the AI is the one building and designing the systems, you may end up in a point where no matter how much you wrangle with the AI, you can't fix whatever bug you're observing. So it's like the equivalent of like somebody else working on the game and then saying, okay, I'm done with the game. Here you go. Here's the source code. And now you're in a position where like you need to figure out everything that they did. So I think that's kind of like can be a very dangerous position to get in, because you could get to the point where you just can't work on the project because you don't know what's happening, right? So that's like the major thing that I would caution against. When I use AI in this project, usually it's just to do the kinds of things that I already know how to do. And that would just take me a long time because it's just rote, like doing things by hand. So the translation system, for example, like I set up the whole pattern for how the ability translation system works, but I didn't update all of the abilities in the game by hand because there's like over 100 abilities. So I did it first on like a handful of abilities, and I said, okay, AI, this is the new translation system that I've designed. Here's all the abilities that I've changed. All the rest of the abilities in the game need to be changed to match this pattern. And then I just had it do that. It saved me a bunch of time. But the benefit is like now, like you saw, like as I'm setting up abilities, I don't have to go like, wait, what is this property? Like, how do I do a plural? Because like I designed that whole system, so I know how it works. Okay. So for each allied corrupted ability executed since this ability's last execution, gain 50% chance to apply exhaust to one random enemy item. All right, let's see if it starts exhausting things. It should have a 100% chance, actually, of exhausting. There we go. Nice. Boom! That is so cool. I think that's the first item in the game that has the ability to exhaust enemy items. It's really powerful. But I like how it's innate, and I like how it relies on corrupted abilities. So it's like you do have to take a little bit of a hit with the corrupted abilities, but this is a really powerful thing if you can leverage it, especially as this percentage goes up. So every tier of Leviathan, this base chance goes up. So that's super cool. All right, I'm going to say that that works. Man, this ability system, I don't want to toot my own horn, but it's pretty dang flexible. Let me just commit this real quick and then I'll catch up with the chat here. What's the mentality with how you create the card ability and script with certain text description, and why not use something like scriptable objects in Unity? So I'm not super familiar with scriptable objects. So I think what your question is getting at is like, why not just have like an editor focused way of designing all of the abilities? Why are you like hard coding the ability behaviors in the script? That's kind of like, I think that's what you're asking. And the reason is because the ability system is so complex that making a configurable, like in editor way of constructing abilities would require me to create like a whole framework on top of this system. And so it's just easier to just write the logic for the ability. Now, I do have a framework for building my abilities. Like, this is how abilities are built, right? Like, I have all of these building block abilities. So again, the way the ability system works is that like basically everything's an ability. So the query target provider is an ability that gets executed. The random chance provider is an ability that gets executed. And all that an ability execution means is that there's something that happens that updates the state of that ability based on the current state of the boards, right? So when the query target provider executes, what it's doing is it's doing this query. It's saying, okay, find all the cards on the enemy board where they can receive exhaustion, choose one ordered by random. And so that happens every time this ability is executed, which means I'm, in theory, or in practice, I'm getting a random card every time it finishes its execution. And then I just supply the abilities in the order that they need to execute. So there's already a framework here that I use to build the abilities, but now if you imagine like how would I actually configure an ability with this complexity in the editor, that would require a whole kind of extra framework on top of the framework. So it's just easier to write the script in C#. I have enough flexibility that I don't really feel the need to like take it an extra level and be able to do like a no code kind of configuration. From my understanding, you've done a lot of games already. How do you share code between projects efficiently? That's likely ending up in multiple projects, say a health manager, player controller. I don't share code. I have some add-ons that have generic like nodes that I can use for between projects. And then I have my Godot utilities, which is a C# library that adds a bunch of like helper methods and helper functions, but gameplay code is not shared. Like every time I do a game with a player controller, I just rewrite the player controller because it always ends up being the case that it's like, it's just different enough where I'd have to go in, like if I ported a script over, I'd have to go in and like change a bunch of stuff anyway. And then the other aspect of it too is like, there's a part of me that thinks, well, like I can do the player controller better than I did it previously, right? Like I can make it more intuitive and more clean and all that stuff. So I don't necessarily even want to work off of the old code that I've written anyway. Like it's just like a constant like exercise and like refining and like seeing, okay, I know that I've done this, a player controller this way and this way and this way. And I liked how I did it in the first one here, and I liked a piece of this one. And so now that I'm going to create a new player controller, I'm going to take elements of like all the different ways that I've done it and try a new sort of like approach. So yeah, I think it's more trouble than it's worth in a lot of cases. It's easier just to write the gameplay code for the game that you're making. And then the things that are truly like rote, like reused things, I elevate those to the level of the Godot utilities library, or I create an add-on for like very specific types of nodes. So one such add-on is the random timer. So it's one of my add-ons that I made. This random timer does exactly what it says. It's just a configurable timer that just chooses a random duration based on the parameters that you configure. So that's very easy to reuse between projects because that's not like, that's not specific to any game, right? How did you get into live streaming in the game development process? Did you do it to help market your game course, or did you want to just do it anyway? Yeah, of course it is like a marketing vehicle. It's not a very good one. I shouldn't say that. Like, having all the people here who are watching the streams, a lot of you who are watching are very like dedicated playtesters, so it's very good. But that's not really marketing, right? Like, it's very useful in terms of like feedback and getting playtesters and building a little community. But if you're trying to like get as many eyes on your game as possible, live streaming is not the way to do it. But it is somewhat of a marketing vehicle because people will come in, from Twitch or from YouTube, and they'll say, "Oh, this game looks cool," and like, every little wish list counts, right? If I can get like one wish list a day just from streaming, that helps, but it's not going to be enough, right? If your goal is to just collect as many wish lists as possible, then the time would be better spent, instead of streaming, like actually focusing on creating like interesting like shorts and stuff like that. But I think the streaming is just fun. Like, I think it's fun to have an opportunity to help people out, share the things that I've learned about Godot when I can. Having the interactivity where I can get real-time feedback and say, like, what do you guys think about this? Like, Ninja Link just suggested an ability for Leviathan, which ended up in the game, right? And it's like, it takes a lot of the creative pressure off of me. But also, like, I think it's just cool to have people collaboratively building the game. And, I can imagine from a player's perspective, like, when the game finally comes out, you could be like, oh, that's the ability that I suggested, right? Or that's the card that I suggested. So I think it's just fun. I think it's just a fun thing to do. It's very helpful for me. And yeah, there is a little bit of marketing benefit to it, but that's not the primary reason. Basically extrapolate the data onto an asset so you can change it without going to the script. Yeah. I just think that would be far too complex to do in my case. I think for something like Slay the Spire, I don't know how Slay the Spire does it. I know that it's been decompiled, but if you've got relatively simple cards where, like, oh, it applies shield, or it restores energy, or it does damage, like, that would be something that would be very configurable as like a scriptable object. But there are going to be cases where, like, you have a card that you want to work in a very specific way that's not supported by the generalized like data, and so at least in that case it might be useful to support supplying script logic to those special cases. The problem with my game is, like, I'm trying to make it so that every card in the game, or most cards in the game, have some kind of unique ability that's not quite seen anywhere else. And so making my abilities configurable through the editor in a data-driven way, but also support that idea that everything should be slightly unique, that would just balloon the complexity beyond what is reasonable, I think. So that's why I just stick to the scripts. I think it's the same as custom resource. Yeah, the data goes into the ability systems up to choice at the end of the day, as long as the core functionality is well made. I think so, yeah. What app do you use for your project and task management? It's Obsidian, yes, with Kanban. It's Kanban. Doing podcasts, sending footage to other channels so you can use other people's audiences to get wish lists instead of trying to build your own audience. Right, exactly. Thank you, Snupbill, for the IDR 10,000. That's always very much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. With the message yummers. Appreciate it, Snupbill. Your game looks cool. Added to the wish list. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. So now the next ability that we want to do, we're not going to make this one innate, but we are going to make it a passive that increases the critical... Oh, how is this going to work? Increases the critical... Do I already have an ability like this? Let me think. We want to increase the critical multiplier by 0.1x. every time an enemy item gets exhausted. Trying to think. So there's a couple of tricky things about that. I think I can do, let's see, self-critical chance modification. This is chance modification, but do I have a legendary? I'm trying to, I'm losing track of. Oh, here we go. Occult altar. Critical chance modifier. So do I have a critical multiplier modifier? Okay. Apply critical chance. Okay, I think this will work. So basically, I'm going to need to do an ability execution tracker with a filter here. I'm just going to straight up copy this, and then we'll modify it. Oops. Is Leviathan going to be the longest card script in the game? So this will be a passive ability. Let's just add it to the list before I forget. Let's also just make this a little bit nicer. Okay. All right, so let's do const float base crit mult per exhaust. Maybe we'll make this one not scalable. Wonder if I should change the crit mult to an integer as well. And probably the crit chance to an integer as well. I don't think it matters. Maybe it doesn't matter. Now the question is, do we want to cap it? Maybe we'll cap it at 2.0. It's one thing I learned recently from watching Chris Z. I was considering starting to make content for the game I'm working on because I felt I needed to so I can get views. Then he broke down that you are way better off using other people's audiences to get those views instead of trying to build your own from scratch. Yeah. I think the Fleam or whatever it's called does something like that with paralysis. Yeah, the Flagrum, yeah. That one's not quite the same though because it's not a passive ability. So the passive ability is the part that's kind of tricky. Hello, Junie. We are adding abilities to Leviathan. Hello, General Shade. Welcome. Okay. Oh, this should be current crit mult per exhaust. Current crit mult. Self-critical multiplier modification. Persistent state. Record critical chance. Critical mult. Persistent state. Public float current critical multiplier. Okay. Cannot convert float to int. Oh, max, what? Oh, this needs to be 0f. There we go. Ah! So this needs to be in magnitude. All right, so this would be divided by 100. So this would need to be 10. Oh man, this doesn't make any sense. 200. Oh, this is a mess. Okay, ability listener, ability execution tracker. So let me think about this. Hold on a second. I need to only track. I need to only track paralysis debuff executed against the enemy, or not paralysis. This needs to be exhausted debuff. So let's do exhausted debuff. Get board for card listener. Card is not equal to x.context.target board. I think that's right. So if Leviathan, if exhausted is applied to a card on the same board as the Leviathan, it doesn't count. I think that's correct. Oh man. Ability. Okay, so Is that right? Current crit mult per exhaust times allied target count. This is the enemy target count. Get board for target is equal to x dot context dot target board. Okay. Enemy target count. That's a little bit of a roundabout way of getting all that data, but that's all right. Let's do crit mult per enemy exhaust. Okay. Current mult per exhaust is equal to scalar tier. All right, is everything correct here? Self-critical multiplier modification, ability listener and reset state. We've got the persistent state, which is set up here. That's just going to store the current critical multiplier. Okay. Critical multiplier. Critical multipliers increased by whenever an enemy item is exhausted, gain 0.0x additional critical multiplier permanently up to 2x. Okay, so this would be the current crit mult per exhaust, and then max crit mult. Okay, all right. And this would be card Leviathan crit mult per exhaust. Wow. That was quite an ordeal. I don't even know if this is going to work, but we'll see. Maybe the scaling for this ability can be increasing the cap. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that might actually present a bug. Let me think about this. Is this persistent state? Oh, so there's a question if this persistent state is restored before the scale for tier is called, it may end up erasing some progress. Let me see. I got to figure out where this persistent state is used now, what the order is. Composed ability, persistent state. Yeah. So the problem here is that this tier is being set after the save data is loaded. So that means that if, let's say you have a tier 5 Leviathan and you're at the max crit mult cap, you quit the game, you load the game, it's going to create that ability again, but at tier 1, and it's going to deserialize the data into the ability. But during the deserialization process, it applies that cap. But then the cap is raised after the scaling function is called here, which happens after all the abilities have been loaded, which makes sense in a certain way because you can't scale the abilities until you've actually reconstructed the abilities, right? What I could potentially do here is do ability.scale for tier, card save model.tier. So I scale the ability before I deserialize the state. But then when I call set tier here, that's going to scale all the abilities again. That's probably fine. But I don't really like that. It's not super clear why I'm scale. Like if I come to this code in a month, I'm going to be like, why am I doing an ability scale for tier here? Now this is a situation where I could add a comment, but we all know how militantly anti-comment I am, so we're going to figure out a roundabout way of fixing it. I have the same issue. Can't make a framework of abilities are so different that they're entire structures themselves. Right. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm thinking about doing is so this is an order of operations problem. I can't safely deserialize the ability data into the ability before it has been set to its current tier. This would fix it, I think. But I'm wondering if I should spend the effort to make it a more explicit, like, part of the loading process. So if I could maybe just store maybe if I do this, let's do list, and we're going to do a tuple of base composed ability. Actually, let's do composed ability. I persistent state. Deferred persistent state applications. Deferred persistent state applications add. Oh, this is a JSON node. We could just make this a JSON node, I guess. Okay, so then we set the tier, and then we do for each var deferred state application in oh, we'll elevate this up here, I guess. Okay, so that is a more explicit order, right? So now instead of just relying on this ability scale for tier here, loading the abilities properly, what I'm doing is I'm explicitly deferring the deserialization until after the rest of the card has been set up, and then as the last step, so when everything's set up in the card, as the last step, I deserialize everything, which I actually think makes more sense. So I get the full card reconstructed at tier 1 with no state. After all of that is set up, then I update the tier of the card, and then I restore the state. So hopefully that works. We're gonna have to test that, but so now anyway, back to Leviathan. I need to make the so this would be base, let's just do this, base max crit mult. We're going to do var current max crit mult. So go to base. Okay. So we'll make the max crit mult go up. By I guess we can keep that by 10. Okay, and this would be current max crit mult and current max crit mult. Comments are for people who care about their future selves, but future me would be offended that past me wouldn't understand, though I wouldn't understand. What's the lore of being against comments in code? So generally speaking, I think that your code should be intentional and clear enough such that you don't need comments. So that example was a perfect, or that little situation was a perfect example of what I'm talking about, right? So I've got this, the one way to fix it would be to scale the ability before I load, load the state, right? But the problem is this is not really explanatory in and of itself, right? When I come to the code in a future state, like a month or 2 months from now, I may be saying, why am I scaling this ability here? I already have the set tier down here, which also scales the ability, so why is this even here? So that's a situation that I probably would be in a couple of months, right? And so the answer to that is I could just say, well, this needs to be here for proper serialization, right? This needs to be here, proper serialization. But now what I'm doing is I have gotten into a situation where my code is not clear enough on its own such that it requires this comment. And so I just personally don't like that. I don't like littering my code with comments because I think they're band-aid fixes for the idea that your code is not clear enough on its own. So my sort of whole way of doing things is like the code should be the source of truth for everything. It should be the source of truth for the logic. It should be the source of truth for the meaning. It should be the source of truth for the intent. And to the extent that you're putting meaning and intent in comments, you're actually failing to make the code the source of truth for those things. So instead of doing that, which would have fixed it, I'm not saying this wouldn't have fixed it. Instead of doing that, I create a more intentional and clear setup where I am specifically deferring the state applications to the end of this operation, right? And so now, at least when I come back to it in the future, I may still have a question of like, well, why am I deferring this? But it's very obviously intentionally the case that this was made to be deferred, right? So instead of having a situation where I'm like, well, I'm already calling set tier down here, why do I need to set it here? I'm instead in a situation where I'm like, okay, this was very intentionally set up to be a deferred update. And so I have that extra piece of information that was intentionally done. And then if I need to, I can go and, figure out why it was intentionally done. But, yeah, that's just kind of like how I like to do things. I'm not saying it's wrong to use comments, but I don't like to use comments when I can avoid it. Makes sense. Thank you. You're welcome. Anyway, I don't even know if that's going to work. I guess we'll see. Okay, current max crit mult. I need to store the current max crit. No, I don't. No, I don't. Okay. Is that it? Is that it for the ability? Okay, let's change this. Let me just stage this. Let's change its base chance to 50% again so I can see if that multiplier is even going to go up. And actually, I think I set the Leviathan to have a larger crit mult by default. Yeah, I set it to have... Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, never mind. We're okay. Let's build this. All right, let's see what happens. I also have to make sure that it's not increasing for player exhaust. So let's add item Phoenix. We need to create some corrupted abilities here. Of course, the candle didn't get corrupted. That's all right. Let's just do it again. Okay. Critical multipliers increased by 0.0x. Whenever an enemy item is exhausted, gain 10x. Oh, that's not correct. That's just a display bug. This needs to be divided by 100. I think that's correct. I don't know. Let's see. Increased by 10x. So it's 1.6 now. Yeah, that's working. Up to 20x. So it's 1.7 now. Oh, I died. I killed myself. Okay, I think it's correct. Now let's just do something fun here. Add item Leviathan 5. Permanently up to 2.4x. Okay. So you could end up with a 3.x multiplier on Leviathan. 3.9. Did I say 3.9x? And we want to make sure that the Phoenix is not doing it as well, which I wasn't really paying attention to. Of course, it's got a passive ability. Oh, this one has exhaust too. All right. Okay, so we've got one. Let's just pause this. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, so the Phoenix exhausted itself, but that did not count towards the... So it's only got one enemy exhausted. It's only gone up by 0.1x. So that's correct. And now it should be 0.2x. We'll see if the candle exhausts itself. Okay, it did, and it's still 0.2x. Cool. All right. I will say that that's probably working. Dang, this is a cool card. I like this one. Okay, this critical chance needs to go back down to 1, but those changes need to stay. Okay, alrighty. So I may just add a couple more abilities onto the Leviathan, something that's already in the game. But we added 3 brand new unique abilities not seen anywhere else in the game to the Leviathan. And I might just throw on some, like, I don't know, bleed or poisoner or something, or I don't know. Maybe some paralysis as well. But I'm going to decide upon that. I just want to fill out its abilities a little bit more so it's like more powerful by default. How much optimization do you plan to squeeze out of your game after all the features are done? Just as much optimization as is necessary to make the game run well, which basically is like, you know, I'm not trying to be like hyper optimized. What I'm trying to do is like the vast majority of devices that you play this on should run at 60 FPS, which is like, I've had people play test the game where they're like, I'm playing on a 10-year-old laptop and it works fine. And it's like, there's not really anything to do, you know? I did do some optimization work with the items, as many of you are aware, but that was because that was causing a problem even on my machine, which, you know, I have a 5080 and, you know, 24 core or 20 core 5 gigahertz processor, and it was taking 100 milliseconds to do something. So yeah, I mean, I guess all that is to say, I'm not really planning any optimizations until they become a problem. Anyway, I do still want to do the quick move hotkey for alchemy. So I am going to do that on this stream. So we'll go a little bit longer today than usual. So, but I'm going to take another quick 3-minute break. And then when I come back, we will do the quick move to alchemy hotkey. So BRB in just 3 minutes. All right, I'm back. Oh, right, I should make a console for my game soon. I'm still binding the buttons to test stuff. Whatever works. I mean, it's like one of those things where the debug tools should be the minimum set of tools necessary to like increase your productivity as much as possible. And I think it's going to depend largely on the game. Like if the buttons are working, then, you know, then that works. You know, like I kind of like building like little debug tools like that because they can be so sloppy and like so just like slapped together. Because it's like you're just trying to get to the point where like they're adding some value to your workflow. You know, there's certainly things that I would like to add to my console, but it's like I just did what was the easiest thing to do for the console given the systems I already have in the game. And it still has limitations that I would like to resolve, but at the same time, it's like those limitations aren't making a noticeable difference in like productivity. Like for example, I would love to add like a command history so I could just hit the up arrow and like repopulate the last command that I did, because I oftentimes want to add like one item repeatedly. So I would love to just be able to do like up, enter, up, enter, up, enter, and just like fill my inventory with them. But that's not something that I've gotten around to doing because it requires work and there are other things to do. Anyway, we are going to add a new input to the game because I need to do quick move. So my quick move system is not really that great. So let's add a new action, secondary quick move. And we'll do, actually, let's do alternate quick move, add, and we'll do shift, shift plus shift physical. Interesting. So here's a little tip for everyone. I was doing this, what was this? I think it was in Gunforged or something. What game was I making? Anyway, I made a game where the control key did something. There's this little button right here. It's kind of easy to miss, this checkbox. This is Command Control Auto. And what this does is, like, let's say that you wanted to make Control or Command C do something for Mac, or for PC and for Mac, for Linux and for Mac, whatever. If you just specify like Control C, so if I just did Control C, that's literally asking for the control key, and so Command C won't work on Mac. But if you click this little button, Command or Control C, with the Control C input, I think, if I do C, no, you could just put C and then Command Control Auto. That will automatically remap it to the command key when you're on a Mac platform. So anyway, that's a nice little checkbox to look at. So it'll just automatically determine based on your platform whether it should be using Command or Control. Very useful. I forgot what it was. I forgot what I was doing, but it was like, I don't remember, but praise be to the Grand Alchemist, for he will bless us with shortcut keys as foretold by the prophecy. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just do shift, alternate quick move. What is, I don't know. What is this? Why are there two? I don't know why there are two little buttons here. That's kind of weird. What is this one now? Why are there three buttons here that all do the same thing? Anyway, that's weird. Okay, so anyway, shift. Okay, quick move. Try quick move card. We will need to do var is alternate quick move equals input dot is action pressed. Let's go to game constants. Public static read only string name action alternate quick move. Get quick move target board for card. Let's just do bool. I mean, there's a very easy way to do this. Public int alternate quick move priority. Get set is equal to -1. Okay, so then in here, let's just pass along this is alternate quick move there. Okay, quick move target boards where if, let's see. Can accept card is target valid. Is alternate quick move. Wait, why is this? There's something funky going on here. If is alternate quick move is target valid is equal to is target valid. Can I do, wait, can I do this? I can't do and equals? That would be cool. Is target valid and target registration use alternate quick move priority. Okay. Max priority. See, I don't know. Let's just do this. Var board quick move priorities for candidates. To dictionary X. I actually don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. Why do I even have this? Board to quick move priorities. I don't know why I have this. Let's get rid of this. I can derive that information from the board registration. This doesn't need to be here. The one thing that I'm thinking about is so if I still have, like, if I shift click and that sends it to the alchemy, but I still have shift held when I click on the card to send it back to the inventory, there is not going to be another board on the screen which has the alternate quick move priority. And so in that case, I should probably just default back to, the normal quick move priority. But maybe this will work. If candidates.count is equal to 0, it just returns null. Okay. Well, let's see if that works. Let's see if that works. Oh, I forgot to update the registration. Is alternate, use alternate quick move priority equals true. Alternate quick move priority equals 1. So hopefully this works. It's still not working. I wonder why that's not working. Maybe this quick move target board type. Is this never set? What? Quick move target. Oh, I guess that's never used. Okay. But the board event type, I don't even know what's going on here. There's got to be a better way to do this. Is this board type even used? It's not used anywhere. Hold on a second. Something's weird here. These were not even used. Let me try something. Is this even still working? Let's turn off the training dummy. So if I go to the enchant, is this gonna work? Hold on a second. I think it should work. Let's just get rid of this. Yeah, so if I put it, so that does work. So none of those things were necessary. So we got rid of all those. So now it's just a matter of figuring out why the alternate is not working. Let's just put a breakpoint here, I suppose. Put a breakpoint there, put a breakpoint there. Launch. Who knew such a simple thing would be so not simple? Is alternate quick move is true. Okay. So, target registration, use alternate. Okay. False. Oh, did I just do this wrong again? Oh, is quick move target equals false? Oops. So I think this is it. So if it's not set as alternate quick move and the target registration is not using the alternate quick move, or it is saying to use alternate quick move and the target uses the alternate quick move, I think that's probably what I need to do. So basically when shift is clicked, I'm just selecting only the boards that have the alternate quick move enabled. But the alternate quick move boards are excluded from the normal quick move priority. So let's see if this works. So I can do this. If I hold shift, that goes over. So I can't, okay, so that actually makes sense. So I can't hold shift and move it again. I have to just normal move it back. And that will return back to its original position as well. Okay. So I put the Leviathan here and then I do this. It can't go back. There it goes. Put the candle here, put the candle there, put that back where it was, put that back. Okay, cool. Awesome. Very cool, very cool. And I cleaned up a bunch of that quick move code as well, which is cool. Okay. Now we just need a quick cell keybind. Okay, all right, if you guys want a quick cell. If you guys want a quick cell, we'll add it. Where did that go? What was the thing I was going to do? Oh, yeah. Make corrupted chance based on number of items. I don't know. Should we make the... I don't know if this is going to be good. Should we make the corrupted chance based on the number of items or the number of occupied cells? I guess the thing, maybe I don't want to do that, because I think the reason I made it the number of occupied cells is so that, because again, I've been fighting this constant problem in the game where large items are not attractive in a lot of cases, and I think a lot of the changes that I've made have made that not the case. The addition of innate abilities and putting innate powerful abilities, the ability slot system. And I think one of the other benefits of large cards is that they are not likely to acquire corrupted abilities because they just take up so much space by default. But if I changed it to the number of cards influences the chance of getting corrupted abilities, then it actually negatively impacts the large cards because they take up a large amount of the alchemy board, and then it's hard to fit in enough items in the board after that to make sure that you're not getting corrupted abilities. So actually, I think I might keep it the way that it is, because what it does is it penalizes just doing very small cards together and like only alchemizing those together, but it rewards alchemizing onto large items. But it also incentivizes you to throw in some, like if you want to get a very specific ability on an 1x1 item, let's say, it may be attractive to throw in, for example, just like a large item and protect it with honey, for example, so that you guarantee that you're not going to get a corrupted ability. Yeah, I actually think, yeah, I'm going to keep it the way that it is, because that is, I think that's good. Hope the development process has been going good so far. Yeah, it has been. Thank you. The cells do make sense. The concept of ability slots was related to stability, right? Yeah. Big cards would be more stable, so it makes sense. Yeah. So I think like I've kind of restructured how the alchemy works around the idea that you basically won't be penalized for using large items in alchemy, and you will be penalized for using small items in alchemy. And so it makes it a little bit harder to like just stack up the perfect abilities on smaller items. Those are going to be more like risk reward. Like you can try to get like the perfect ability on this 1x2 item that just like fits right in the spot perfectly. But you're going to run the risk, a higher chance of getting a corrupted ability onto it. But again, I mean, this is what the playtest will be for. We're going to have to see how that looks. This is Obsidian with the Kanban plugin. Welcome, Scorusenti. Welcome, welcome. How do you like the Kanban Obsidian plugin? I'm using GitHub projects because closing issues via commit messages makes me feel cool, but I'm looking to get away from GitHub. I mean, I like it. I think the main reason I'm using it is just because like I don't like for a Kanban board, like all the cloud providers or the SaaS apps like Notion and Trello. If Trello is even still around, I think maybe they got merged into Jira or something, or so, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I just didn't like the fact that I had to like have an internet connection and also like create an account and log in, and you know, I don't have my data. So I recently, like within the past couple of years, I went through a big effort to like reclaim all of my data. And that doesn't mean I don't use the cloud providers. I'm still using GitHub for Alchemortis, but I do have a nightly backup that clones my repository from GitHub and stores it on my local NAS. So if I am using cloud, like SaaS apps or cloud data providers, it's just as an extra backup mechanism, mostly. So anyway, the reason I like Obsidian is because it's just local files, and I can back those up. I can also just read the raw text, all that good stuff. I think the best solution would be a combination of both cell and item count. I don't think any card should be disproportionately affected by the mechanic. Card's still making it to my typing process. Yeah, it's hard to get away from that language. Trello still lives but got bought by Atlassian. Yeah, we'll see how the playtest goes, Ninja Link, and if people don't like the corruptedist system, I can make it based on both cells and items. I'm trying to think of how that would work. I guess I could just make it like, instead of just taking the cell count, what I could do is take half of the occupied cells towards the count and then take the number of items towards the count. That might be an interesting thing to do. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I still feel like going a little bit longer. Let's see if we can figure out something else to do here. Anyone have any ideas of what you want to do? Let's see. Well, maybe I should just work through my to-do list here. We're gonna go for extra long today, I guess. All right, let's do the quick sell hotkey. Fine. Actually, no, I'm tired of working on hotkeys. Actually, the quick sell is going to be a little bit trickier. Because I think... So the way that the cell gets triggered is that the cell board detects when a card enters it, and then it plays that whole cell thing. The problem is that, like, one way of quick selling an item could be to just, like, in the same way that it quick moves here, I could just quick move it down to the cell board and then have it delete itself. I just wonder if that would look a little bit weird. I think it would be better if it did that cell particle animation from just wherever it is right now. So if I hit control and then click, it just poofs right where it's at. That's going to be a little bit harder to do. So I actually need to investigate and see how that's going to work. So maybe I won't do that just yet. Oh man. I'm going to be really curious to hear what you guys think of the next playtest. There's a lot of changes. The map has changed a little bit. I've got the new difficulty tier system in place. I need to rework the combat tooltips. But yeah, I've got the new difficulty system, which is still sort of like work in progress, but it's good enough for testing. So you could select these difficulties here. And that piles up all these difficulty modifiers. I still don't know how well this system is going to work. Like, I don't know if this difficulty system is going to be compelling enough, but we'll see. This screen is kind of bare still. I still need to do work on this. Have you played around with the offset camera so the player character is a bit lower on the screen, showing more nodes to the north? No, I haven't done that yet. It's in my backlog of things to do. Yeah. That might be something that I'll address, like, when everything gets more settled, because I'm still making major systems like this. This was the most recent major system I made, which was the difficulty system. Oh, and of course the run overview screen as well. Right, so when I die, go to the run overview. I think the run overview screen still needs a little bit of work as well. So we'll see. But yeah, I've just been not quite in the phase of development where I can just focus a lot of my effort on the quality of life things. So I die here. I gotta update those run statistics there. I did add a wishlist button and a Discord button here, though. That's kind of cool. I wonder if I could, let's see. I'll just show you this real quick because it's kind of fun. So Steam initialization, initialize on startup debug. Let me just abandon this run. So you can see, like, I got a little Steam overlay thing there. So I abandon the run. Go here. So if I do the little wish list thing, let me just make sure. Just making sure this is not going to reveal any super personal information. So when I click wish list, it actually just brings up the store page in the browser here, which is super cool. This was something that Chris Z said to do. Said if you're going to have a wish list button on like your main menu, just have it open in the Steam overlay right there so people don't get taken out of the game. When I was like, oh, I never really thought about that. So this opens in the Steam overlay. Same with the Discord link, which I won't click because that's going to send me to a redirect. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. As a little wish list flag. I also reorganized this menu a little bit. I think there was a piece of feedback in the previous playtest that it was just hard to, like, there's the quit button. It was really close to the start button and everything. So I tried to, like, move everything out of the way where the start button is like the button in the middle of the screen. And then the quit is way off over on the left here. So hopefully that just makes it a little bit easier to tell what's going on. I think it does, because, like, your eye is not really drawn to this one over here anymore. You're looking at the Alcamorta screen and you see, like, mostly just these buttons here. Then you go to start and you go to the little grove here. I do want to do some art. I kind of want to make this like a forested grove and maybe have some like vines going around and stuff. Just give some more art detail here, add some like grass and whatnot. Basically just like an extension of like what this screen looks like with the forest and everything. Finally got to enough items in the game where there's a scroll bar on this screen now. That's kind of cool. Oh, I just realized I can't scroll. Are you going to make it so that you have to complete a difficulty to unlock the next one? Yes, that's how it works currently. So the way it works is you will not see any difficulty options until you beat the game 3 times, I think. I actually don't remember. Okay, yeah. So you have to win 3 runs at the base difficulty before the difficulty 1 gets unlocked. But then after that, if you beat that run, then you get difficulty 2, then you get difficulty 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8. And it's the same as Slay the Spire, where like all the difficulty modifiers stack. So, yeah. And I'll probably, I mean, it depends on what your guys' feedback is on the difficulty system. You know, I may go up to 10 difficulty options, or I may go up to 20. It doesn't, we'll see. Hello, Artem, welcome. Honestly, I really haven't done any playtesting yet of the game. Like, I've made all of these like difficulty changes, and I've changed how poison works. I changed how fire works. I changed like how all these statuses worked. I rebalanced the enemy board generation and everything. I haven't playtested any of this stuff yet by myself, so I'm going to need to do that soon. But my initial impressions, so I reworked poison, I reworked fire, I reworked bleed. My initial impressions is that the systems are a lot more satisfying to use. Well, maybe not more satisfying, because Anyway, the burstiness of those systems has been basically removed, but you're still rewarded for like getting really high stacks of those things. And so I think it feels really good. Like, for example, I think poison builds in the limited amount of playtesting I have done still feel very satisfying because you still get the higher DPS the more that you apply, and you can kind of see the enemy's health bar just like accelerating in its decrease downward. But it does take a little bit of ramp up time, and it does require you to more explicitly build a poison synergy to get to that point. But we'll see how you guys like it. Fire on difficulty totem shaders. No, those are just particles. It's just like a series of particle systems. There's a new way that I'm doing particles now. It used to be that I would just take the particle and I would change its color through its lifetime, but that was not producing a very good effect. So what I've started doing is I've actually started layering multiple particle effects on top of each other. So I've got the white particles and then the orange particles behind that, and then the red particles, and then I have smoke particles which are emitting more from the top. And I think that creates just like a much nicer like layered fire effect than what I was doing before. Time for game day once again. Hello, Jacket Daytona, welcome. So yeah, I did the same with this one. Like, I think that this flame looks a lot nicer than it did before. So yeah. Thank you, Artem. Okay, enough chit-chatting. Let's figure out something to do. Actually, it's the top of the hour, so I'm going to go take another 3-minute break, and we'll keep going. I don't know. I have a lot of energy today, I guess, so we'll find some more things to do here, and then we'll see how that goes. All right, BRB in just 3 minutes. All right, I'm back. So it's shaders at the end of the day. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the particles are just shaders. Maybe we'll add a VSync option. This is something that's been bothering me. Not sure how intense you want to get with things to do. Something on the lower side, maybe deciding on some more unlocks. Something a bit more, maybe a new artifact. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to stick to just this to-do list because, like I said, this is basically the list of things that needs to be done in order for the game to be playtest ready again. And I kind of violated that a little bit by doing the Leviathan, but it's one of those situations where, like, sometimes, like, the inspiration will just strike me, you know? Like, I don't know how to explain it, but, like, sometimes this like moment of confidence will come up where it's like, I know exactly how to draw this thing. And like, I feel like I have to capitalize on those moments. So I don't know if it's just like, I just get like weird moments of motivation or inspiration or whatever, but I try to like act on those as soon as possible. So I had such a moment last night and I stayed up way too late working on that, but I don't know. I think that's a good way to do things. Like when you have the motivation, if you can just hop on that immediately, that would be ideal. All right, let's add a VSync option to the game. Hello, Mark. Welcome. So when I add VSync, I also like to do like a max FPS setting here, because like there's no reason that the game needs to run at like 1500 frames per second. That's just like kind of wasteful of the GPU. So I usually just put it to something like 240, something like on the high end of like what a gaming monitor refresh rate would be. So I usually set that, and then for VSync, let's do one thing here. Let's go to, I need to redo this options menu too because it's really freaking ugly, but that's all right. I'll fix it later. I might need to reorganize this whole thing as well. Yeah, let's do this. Do a grid container, columns 2. Just reorganize this while I'm here. Then all of these, I'm going to change all of these to VBox containers. Huh? Why is that not creating even... Oh, I see. This needs to be moved out. I don't know if I'm doing this. Actually, you know what I'll do? We're going to take that HBox container, going to put it outside. Well, I'll figure out what to do with that in a second. I don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this. We'll just make these centered again. All right. All right, that's probably okay. And then for the HBox container here, let's just make this. Well, maybe now I can. I'll figure this out eventually. All right, layout, container sizing. Okay. I saw that you organized your project by file type. Have you tried to group it by functionality? If you've tried, which is one is actually easier to work with in large scale project. Yeah, so the problem with Alcamortis is that I have a lot of scripts that are just like, that are just C# scripts. And so it doesn't really make sense to co-locate them with like scenes or anything. So I do both. I organize, I have a separate scenes directory and I have a separate scripts directory, but that's because like I have scenes which don't have scripts attached and I have scripts which don't have relevant related scenes. So I split those out, but I mirror the directory structure when it's appropriate. So like if I have a UI scene that's like a special type of button, then I will have a scripts directory that kind of mirrors that directory structure and has the same name as the scene. So even though they're in two different places, the structure is being exactly mirrored. But then I do organization by type in each of those directories. So like the scene types and then the script types. So for example, I have like my ability directory here, which is all the card abilities, all the item abilities. That's grouped by type. So yeah, it's just kind of like a mixture of both. I just think it's easier to work for me personally the way that I've got it set up for the reasons that I mentioned. But I've seen you working on this project for quite some time now. On the other hand, I can't keep going on the project. It's messy. Or when a new idea for a game pops into my head. Do you have any advice? Well, I mean, I think, think of everything as a skill, right? So the ability to finish a game is a skill that you need to practice, right? And part of that skill is going to be exactly what you said, is going to be working through the parts of the game that are not so fun to work through. So I think game jams are a great way to do that. Game jams are a great way to practice scope management and finishing a project and all that stuff. Those are like the number one way that I think is the best way to like improve your game development skills rapidly. Because not only are you doing all the technical stuff, but you're also doing all the stuff that actually goes into making a game that's ready for publishing, right? So if you can do a bunch of game jams, that helps. As far as like not being able to stick with a project, in my experience, that's usually a problem of like there's something fundamentally wrong with the game. Like by and large, I haven't had a problem working on Alcamortis because at the end of the day, like, I think the game is fun, and I think the game has a lot of potential, and the only thing standing between me and realizing that potential is putting the work in, right? But it's a lot easier to put the work in when you know that the game has potential and you know that the game is fun. So if you're working on a game and you're just like not feeling it, or you kind of like get bored of it after a while, it may be the case that there's just something fundamentally wrong with the design of your game. Like you haven't actually focused enough on like how to create a compelling gameplay experience for the player. And so if you spend some time focusing on that and trying to get that nailed down, that may help. And then the other side of it is just like there's a discipline aspect of it too, right? Like there are just going to be parts of games that are not fun to do. And in that case, the only way out is through. The only way to get to your game being finished is to do the parts that are also not fun, right? So anyway, that's just a collection. I don't know. That's kind of some ideas for you. I don't know if that helps, but okay, well, these buttons are like positioned real weird, so that's fine. I need like an extra space here. I'm just going to cheat a little bit. Okay. Dang it. Okay. UI, yeah, UI on, I guess that's right. This is the VSync toggle button. Okay, so we've got VSync in there. Access that as unique name. Actually, I'm going to change this to disabled. So is VSync disabled? Okay. I think that's it. To model is VSync disabled. Set custom text is vsync disabled, UI off, UI on. Okay, how do I actually test this? I guess I can just look at the monitors. Why don't you just add something like a line in settings? Yeah, I'm gonna work on the options menu is not like final. I have a lot of work to do on that specifically, so that will be made nicer, but for now it's fine. Okay, let's look at the debugger, monitors, FPS. So we're at 144 FPS because that's my screen refresh rate. And if I turn vsync off and save it, or cancel, so that goes back. Okay, settings, vsync off, save. That should go right up to the 240 mark right there. Turn back on, save that. So I turn vsync off and I quit to menu. Settings, vsync is off. Okay, let's run the game again and see if it goes straight up to 240. It did not. Oh, maybe it's ignoring my save file. Let's see. I think ignore save file also ignores the options if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it's just not being persisted to the save file to begin with. Off, save, quit to menu, stop the game. There we go. So it's back to 240 here, which is the max. I go to settings, save that, resume. Okay. There we go, vsync button added. All right. I think I will call the stream there. So 3-hour stream, a little over a 3-hour stream. But yeah, that's going to be it for now. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciated. If you like, you can wishlist Alcabortis on Steam. Check out the new screenshots, which I think are really nice, really compelling. And yeah, appreciate all your support. Every way you can support me is linked below. And I appreciate, like I said, all your support. Join the Discord to come hang out. And let's see. Koromon again. I don't know what the Koromon is about. Have you ever tried automated testing for game development? Seems too much work for a single dev. So Factorial guy somehow made it. I have some tests in my project, but I'm definitely not like... It's not anything in particular. Like I could run the tests right now, I think. It's not anything fancy. It's just there's a couple of like sanity check testing in here, but I generally don't do it. It's just, like you said, it's too much work. I think for a game like Factorio, it's probably really important because that's such a complex system. But the Factorio devs are also like genius programmers, so you know. Your course, is it for beginners? It's not for absolute beginners, no. You should have some programming experience if you want to take my course. But thank you for joining the stream, Bushy Dragon. And I'm going to hop off now. Thanks, everyone. And I'll talk to you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Okay, bye-bye.